Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carlton People. Today, made a new friend. His name's Daniel. Hello, mate.
How are ya?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
Nah, it's a pleasure. We've been speaking a little bit online, and we finally met last week in person, and here we are.
We did. It was took a while, didn't it? I think we'd been talking for a good couple of years online. I think me listening to you, and then you reading me, and then finally at the Cats game got to meet. So it was good. It was good, and it was all obviously a good result for us as well, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll touch on that. We'll touch on a lot of things today, but I guess the starting point is always with you and your story. What is your story? How'd you become a Carlton man?
Um, so I grew up in a little country town that revolves around footy, and my whole family essentially did. Um, Including my cousins who I spent a lot of time with, and one of them, who was like an older brother to me, was more of like a role model. He bagged for Carlton, and my mum wanted me to bag for the Bombers, but I didn't want to be anywhere near that. So I took on the Carlton fan base when I just followed him around, wanted to be like him. He always had a Lance Whitnell jumper on. I wanted to be a part of it, and then went from there, and then never looked back. And then we are where we are now.
How good. Wow. So what year is this?
This probably 26 years now, but I've been a member for 23.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's been
geez.
a while. He's not as much as a nuffy as I am, but he still supports him now. So I've kind of overtaken him.
Have you been right into it from the get-go? Like, did you catch the bug straight away, or was there a certain period in time where you really latched
uh,
into it?
I think I've always had the footy bug. Footy's like my number one passion, definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of the Carlton bug, probably when I turned 18 and moved to Melbourne, had the access to actually go to more games rather than being stuck in the country and having to watch it on the TV.
Mhm.
That definitely inspired a lot more uh, efforts to get to the games. But obviously, at that time, we weren't very good. So for 2018 onwards, it's been a bit of a hard battle, but just got to continually go and show support, which has definitely worked out well now that we get to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. What's your first memory of a game?
My first ever Carlton game that I went to was my first ever game at the MCG, and we played the Bombers. I think we ended up winning by 80 odd points, and Andrew Walker took mark of the year. Eddie Betts
Oh,
kicked 8. Literally, first ever game at the MCG. I've never like forget it. The moment that Walker stood on Carlisle's head, the whole crowd, even Bomber supporters, were up out of their chairs. They couldn't even believe it. We were sitting like right down in the pocket where Eddie Betts kicked an unbelievable goal. So as like a supporter that hadn't been to many games, it was pretty crazy. That was the first one, and then obviously from there it kind of went a bit different. But yeah, that was the first one.
I still remember that Eddie Betts goal. He was ducking and diving and weaving in between players, and then he just, like, curls it through from the pocket.
They couldn't catch him. They couldn't catch him. He was unbelievable. He'd go down as probably one of my favourite players to watch. I reckon.
Yeah.
When he was on, he's just silk, like absolute silk. Up there with Sean Burgoyne as silk. Um, and then you bring Jeffy Garland into the mix back in that day as well. Like it was pretty good to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a chat last week at the footy, and, we were just talking about, and it really sort of stuck with me, but we were talking about, sitting through all the beltings and,
Yeah.
all those times. So what do you reflect on back then, and do you have memories of what you were thinking about back then, knowing we were probably gonna lose, but sort of sticking around and being in your seat or watching from home anyway?
I think the big part of it was 2000 and when was that game? The Bombers game was 2012 or
12,
13, I think, and then
uh,
when 12, I
11
think,
maybe.
or maybe 11. I think it
Yeah,
might have actually been 11.
it was 11.
So funny enough, I just have the memory of watching it on the TV later as well with Mitch Robinson with his bloody headband on because he was always crashing into blokes and bleeding from the skull.
Yeah.
But I think it's someone once told me like stick through the hard times because when you come to the good times, it'll make it even more important. And that's
Mhm.
what, and that was like a club member from back home in the country as well, because we have been a relatively successful club down there, but there has been some average times too, and there was more located from there, and then took that to Carlton and just thought, well, it can't always be bad, can it? You got to kind of like put through it. And if I don't go, then who's going to go? Because someone's got to cheer them on. Otherwise, it's not going to end very well for them. And as we see now, like the enjoyment from seeing like 80 odd thousand there last week to 2018 games where we were getting like 38,000 and then say 12 at Marvel, the difference is like mind blowing, and it's just unbelievable. Like, it doesn't matter who you support in the AFL. Everyone always says when you go to a Carlton home game, it's completely different. It's like another level of atmosphere.
Did you ever lose hope?
I did until I reckon the 2019 season. The great man Paddy Cripps put us on his shoulder and just had an unbelievable season. I thought, surely if this bloke's playing the way he is for the club, like others are going to have to get on board eventually and follow through. And I feel like it kind of happened from there. Like, I know we had different coaches and changing of the helm and all of that, but you have a bloke like that just consistently play good footy for the club. Everyone else eventually follows, and you weed out the blokes that don't actually want to be there or should be there. But definitely 2017 and 18 was pretty dark, I'd say. I think 2018 we won like one or two.
Two
And
games.
2 games, and the criticism, and one of my best mates is a Collingwood supporter, so that's never too good either. It's always a clash there. But the criticism you cop from other blokes who bag for teams that are really good, that obviously makes it harder as well. But then now it's like, if I look back at it and go, I'm still glad I did, because there's some unbelievable games and memories in those years that no one else will probably get to say they sat there and watched it. And like I said before, it makes it even better now that we're a good team, and hopefully we can win it this year and then look back and go, it's all bloody worth it in the end.
Absolutely, yeah. I reckon 2021, I panicked. Yeah, like
Yeah.
properly panicked because I just thought it's too many years of losing, such a tumultuous, inconsistent club, not just the team on the field. And I thought by
Yeah.
2021, I thought, gosh, by the time they actually figure it out, like Cripps might be a little too old, or
Yeah.
yeah, just definitely lost my faith for a brief moment there, but didn't take long to get it back. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it doesn't help when we just keep like hanging coaches essentially, and everyone's like, it does, and also doesn't help with the media. Like, the media is always going to pump up what's going on at Carlton, I think.
Yeah.
And through those years, I would say that every week it's just, where can we find a story to bring Carlton down, or how
Yeah.
can we get this coach sacked? Obviously, on-field performance doesn't help that, but the media provoke it a lot too. And I feel like our club got trapped in a world where media and external voices got heard too much, and it threw too many people out that probably should have stayed, I think. Yeah, it's good to know that we've settled now, and everyone that should be there, like Brian Cook and the president and all that, are a lot more solidified rather than back in 21 and 20.
What do you make about this team now? What are some of the things that you were looking for them to learn, and what's your take, high level about them?
It's a bloody good question. We look back at 2022. We obviously lose that game to Collingwood. I was at that game, and I definitely thought we were going to win it, and we are going to play finals. And I didn't know if we were going to damage finals or how we'd go. But the difference between that team and this team, I think, is that they just show a lot of belief in the system and belief around each other. Doesn't matter. Like, a prime example, obviously, everyone's been talking about at the moment, Chin Cotter just having a role. It's not a very glorious role, but Bossy came out last week and said that week to week he comes to him and says, I want this player, I want that player, because he knows it's going to influence the team to win, rather than, I think, 2010s, early maybe 2020, there might have been a few players that are a bit selfish. I think they didn't really buy into it too much. It was kind of like in the too hard basket. So where the team is now, I think everyone's on the same page. Wiedering spoke about it on SEN. They all want the same goal at the end. They all had that campfire a couple like last year, or the year before, and they've all sat down and agreed that they want to stick together. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. It's like a unity now, I think, rather than a separation of some sort.
Yeah.
But I think this team can definitely achieve it this year. Like they're pretty good. When we get going, no teams can go with us. I mean, other teams can kick 9 in a quarter or 9 in 10 minutes, essentially.
There's so many questions that get thrown to us. If I, we're filming this ahead of round 16. And if I look back at what we've seen so far, we've started off with, can Harry Mackay kick straight? All right. Can he deal with his goal kicking? And he's done that. Can we win an Adelaide Oval? We've done that. Oh, okay. Well, can you beat an Adelaide side in Adelaide Oval? Okay. Yeah, we've done that. Carlton respects done that. Score from turnover. Like, just seems like so many questions are being answered. Ultimately, they've got to be answered for the entire year and finals. So I don't want to talk too soon, but yeah, there's just such a transformation about the club.
Yeah, like once again, the media is pretty quick to jump on the hoodoos this year. Like you were talking about the Adelaide, what was it, like 11 games Adelaide Oval, we haven't won one.
Yeah.
Albeit we played Fremantle, but then we smashed Port. And then now it's like, oh, well, Sydney made you look foolish. But I think it might have been Pommy was saying it the other day on one of your podcasts that, like, at the end of the day, they've got to play us at the G at the end of the year. So if we make it. So I don't know. Everyone's going to say their comments to try and bring it down for you. But as you said, we're beating everything that they're talking about. Obviously, this week could be a little bit different. It might be a bit more relaxed than the last few, which is nice.
Well, you never know.
You never know. It is the Tigers. So
yeah, you never know. What does your game day look like? Run me through the process. What do you do? Do you have a routine?
If I'm going, it definitely, if it's Thursday or Friday night, I'll come home, have a shower, get ready, get on the train, get in there early, go into the Legends Lounge, have a beer, catch up with some Carlton people. And then I'm a bit of a nuffy. I like to be at the seat when they run out and see them run out every time.
Nothing wrong with that, mate. There's nothing nuffy about that.
And then if it's a weekend, same thing, just cruise up to it, try not to think about it too much. I say that, but then all throughout the week, all I'm doing is reading and looking and hearing, listening to the radio, checking who's in, what's going on here, who have they got in. Even last night I saw the teams, I was like, a bit of nerve. I don't know if I still fully trust it or them in a way, which is odd. Yeah. It's still that little bit of like sensitivity in me that goes, I've seen us come out in games we should win before and we've lost them.
Yeah.
So it is a bit tricky, but still enjoying the good times at the moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to Sean from the Prendercast recently and he used a phrase, scar tissue. I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I don't know if that's...
away.
I kind of feel like if we win a flag, it will.
It has to, right?
Well, I think so. I wouldn't say it's a Band-Aid for the scar tissue, but could be a good way to forget all the bad times or look back and go, well, people like Teague and Bolton actually created it and look where it got us now. I'm not too sure. It'd be interesting to see how many people look back and review all those times and associate it to the success if we get there.
That's a really good point. I'm actually glad you brought that up. I've thought about it recently, and I think they will be celebrated. They'll have a role to play. Now, obviously, it didn't work out with both of those coaches, but lessons were learned along the way while they were at the helm,
100%.
and ultimately, they're all going to be a part of the story.
Yeah, I think Bolton with the young players back in the day, whether it was Wiedering, Cripps to a certain extent, Paddy Dow, even though they're not there at the moment, Lockie O'Brien, just playing the youth and trying to teach them to kind of play together, I think. And then obviously he came to his demise and then Teague came in and had something different. But you just see the growth and development of players that we've got at the moment, Harry and Wiedering, Cribs, Walsh with Teague. There's a fair few more that are in there, but I don't think they would say that they're the player they are now without those coaches, especially.
Mhm.
And then
Good.
ultimately, you get someone like Michael Voss at the end of the day, who's just a natural born leader, which makes things even better for us. And it's definitely what the club needed, I think. I definitely think about the fact that if we were going to go for Ross Lyon, I don't think we'd be where we are now if we got Ross Lyon, that's for sure, compared to a Michael Voss.
So glad we didn't.
Yeah,
Oh,
because they're
mate.
not doing any good.
Well, I just think it's about, the club can be accused in the last couple of decades of just doing what they used to do, doing what suited the old world and, failing
Yeah,
to step
definitely.
into the new world. I think Michael Voss is just much more of a modern day coach. The game moves really quickly and it
Yeah.
evolves really quickly. And yeah, I'm stoked we went with Vossi, and I'm stoked we stuck fat with him in the middle of 2023. And it was almost like you couldn't sack another one. You just couldn't. You just
Well, it's just
couldn't
the
do it
media
again.
again. It's the
Yeah.
media again, just like promoting something that doesn't even exist. And
Oh,
they do it for most clubs, but being like Carlton and Collingwood and Essendon, they're always going to come harder for them.
yeah.
But yeah, like I, I guess a prime example of Voss this year is after that Sydney game coming out saying like it's not acceptable, and then
Yeah.
from that game, the leaders have just stood up and we're just demolishing sides at the moment. So hopefully that stays that same way. But
Mate, absolutely. No, absolutely. What would you say or one or a couple of you like real core memories, the ones that really build the foundation of your supporting life?
I've actually thought about this the other day. Chris Judd's goal in the 2013 elimination final always sits with me.
Yeah.
Um, that was unbelievable. And then Betts and Garlett combining together at the end of it, and Bruce McAvaney's call of like the Amigos of putting the Blues into a qualifying or semi final, whichever we went to after that. That was pretty cool. Like the best probably individual performance and moment that will sit with me forever, I reckon, is the Paddy Cripps game against Brisbane in 2019 at Marvel. I think like I was actually felt pretty crook that day and didn't even want to go. I was like, I just don't want to go. We're playing Brisbane at Marvel. It's a bit chilly. It's winter. Feel like shit. I don't want to go. We're just going to get smashed. Took myself down there. Half time, we're down by 42 points or 46 points, and I was like, why did I come here? Like this is miserable. And then enter Paddy Cripps in the second half and just once again put the club on his shoulders, took us to an unbelievable victory. And then from there, I think it just kind of kept going that he was going to ride us the whole way. Um, some other memories. The Collingwood 2022 one, I think, definitely is a core memory that
It's important.
sits.
It
It's
is
very
important.
important. I've got a lot of Collingwood friends that I'm happy to tell them this, but when Jamie Elliott kicked that goal, I actually, for some odd reason, whether I'm a sicko or not, I actually had a weird smile on my face because one, I knew that I'd probably just witnessed something that could change the course of our journey, but also an unbelievable game that we might not ever have one of like those in the regular season ever again. And it just had to be like, it had to be Collingwood. It had to be round 23. It had to be the last shot of the game to just say, no, Carlton are playing finals again. Um, and it sits, and I think it sits with a bit of anger as well. Like I want to, got to get it back. Whether it's in a grand final or it's in a prelim, we've got to get it back.
Listen, they'll beat us in the regular season, no worries. But when it counts, that's our time. Historically, it's been that way. It's in our DNA.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even know the last time we played Collingwood in finals.
It's got to be like 80s, I think. Early 80s or late 70s.
Yeah, maybe late 80s. I don't know. I can't remember. I wasn't born back then, so unfortunately didn't get to watch it.
Yeah. Fascinating. Well, I was going to ask you, usually, like, I sort of end these episodes with, like, when do you think they'll next hold up the cup? But I think you kind of answered the question a little earlier.
Yeah, I think they can definitely do it this year. I can't see why not. Um, I I've never felt more settled with how they feel about it as well. Wiedering on SEN yesterday said that last year at this stage they were obviously playing pretty good footy, but they might have left their run too late, and
Mm,
their mentality around it wasn't quite settled on it. And then the year before, a lot of emotion. You get to the last round of the year, you play Collingwood, you're in or you're out. The doggies lose to Hawthorn. Like, I still can't even believe that, let alone Jamie Elliott's goal. But this year, he's basically said that from the word go, there's one thing in mind, and that's to win a flag. And I definitely think it could be this year. I think things are going to go our way in finals, though. I mean, Brisbane's coming quite hard. Collingwood are obviously going to continue to come. Sydney are a very good team. No one else really worries me, I would say, in the top 8.
yeah.
But as you and I would agree, like, you get a Collingwood on prelim day, um, but we've got to get over that mountain. Um, but yeah, I'd say I'm about 65% confident that we could win it this year.
Hey, it's possible, mate. I'll take that. I'll take it.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, and I personally it'd be, I reckon, unreal if we get the double and Cripper could win another Brownlow, because he's been in unbelievable form this
Yeah,
year. Also, Charlie
bro.
wins another Coleman. Like, you might as well just give him the next 3, I think,
Yeah,
because I don't think anyone else is going to stop him.
it's pretty crazy. A couple of years ago, it was don't say Charlie's name. It's too much of a sore spot. You can't talk about it. You'll never be the same. Even if he comes back, he's done.
Yeah,
And then he's potentially about to win, back to back to back Colemans.
I think it was like the last game in 2000 and was it maybe 19 that he played. I think we played St Kilda at Marvel, and he kind of looked very rusty, and it was very concerning as a Carlton fan. You're like, oh no, I don't actually think he can get back. And then next 2 years, he's just gone on an absolute onslaught.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember that. I do remember that his first game back, it was like lockdown, end of 2021, I reckon. First touch was beautiful, big long goal, and then but he definitely didn't look like
yeah, it
he.
didn't look well.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that
no,
I think we ended up smashing St Kilda that night, which was odd too, because they always generally have our number at Marvel.
yeah,
The commentators were just, all they could talk about was Charlie and how he just doesn't look right. Is he going to get back to it? Is he going to be, this kid that they all thought he would be? And I would say that he's probably gone above and beyond that.
I think so. He's got a bit of catching up to do as well for all those missed
Yeah,
years. So
definitely.
no, he's done well. Hey, mate, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for
That's all
setting
right.
aside
Thanks for
some
having
time
me.
for us here. It's been great to just connect with you over the years and now meet properly. And I'm glad we could sit
Definitely.
down and have a chat.
Definitely. We'll have to catch up in another home game soon, and have a cold beer and enjoy some more wins, I think. And hopefully at the end of the year, have a chat about winning a flag.
Mate, let the good times roll, hey?
Absolutely.
Go Blues.
Thanks, Terry.